Some of you expressed interest in knowing how I fixed my water pressure. Step one was to determine where the problem was. So I shut off the water from beyond the pressure tank / well to the rest of the house. So now there is no water flowing at this point. If your pressure gauge is still dropping and giving you problems even after the well kicks in, then you know the problem is either the pressure tank or the well. With my problem, I noticed that as soon as it reached a certain level, the pressure gauge would kind of bounce back and forth. You'd hear sound coming from the pressure tank. So I figured it was probably the pressure tank that was in need of a replacement. So, step two, you need to remove this tank. You do so by, again, making sure that there's no water flow from beyond this point, the pressure tank in the well, to the rest of the house. You also need to make sure that your well is turned off. You do that by shutting off power that goes into the pressure switch, so the well won't kick in when the pressure drops. Step three, drain this and the pipes that go from here to the well of the water. You connect a hose to this relief valve, turn it on, all the water drains. Again, make sure that this is off so you're not draining the water that's in the house pipes. All the water drains out of the pressure tank, all the water drains out between the well and the pressure tank. So you turn that back off when that's fully drained. You'll see that the PSI indicates you have 0 pressure, and you know you're ready to remove this guy. I had to cut the copper pipe here to remove the tank, the old tank. This is it here. I also had to replace this fixture because this is the copper pipe that was going into this fixture, and that's soldered in there and it wouldn't come out. I also cut the PVC pipe from the fixture that goes to the well. You can see here I've replaced that with some new PVC. That's pretty easy to do with the primer and the contact cement. So this is all new fixtures. I was able to unscrew this part from the ball valve here, so I got that out. Replace it with a bunch of new stuff. The tricky part is making sure that this is lined up properly so that when you put the new tank in, you can slide it in. So that would be step 4, replacing all the fixtures. So once you have the fixtures in place, once you place your new tank in here and you slide it into place and make sure that that's nicely glued in there with the PVC pipe, your system should be ready to go. These tanks come pre-filled with a certain amount of pressure. You need to make sure that your pressure is 2 psi below your cut-in pressure. So cut-in pressure and cut-out pressure. Your cut-in pressure is the pressure that will tell the well to start kicking in once it goes down below a certain psi. In my house I have it at 40, and with this switch it's separated by 20 psi. The cut-in is 40, the cut-out is 60. So once this goes down, once the water is being used and this pressure gauge goes down to 40, the well kicks in, fills up this pressure tank, goes up to 60, and then shuts off. And that's settings with your pressure switch, which you need to figure out. And between 40 and 60 is a pretty good PSI for a house of my size. Step 5. You've drained the water, you have the water shut off to the house, you have your new tank installed, you've adjusted the pressure to 2 psi below your cut-in point. At that point, as long as you make sure you don't have any leaks, you're ready to turn this back on. Mine was turned off by the circuit breaker. I go back to the circuit breaker, I turn it back on. Water comes from the well, fills up this pressure tank, and you'll see the pressure go from 0 all the way up to 60, which is where my cutoff point is. If it goes beyond 60, I have to adjust my pressure switch. You can look up how to do that depending on whatever pressure switch you have. Read the directions, whatever you need to do. So the pressure switch cuts off at 60, and it should stay there. Now, if you've installed a new tank and your pressure goes down after you have this valve shut off to the rest of the house, well, then your problem could be a well problem or a leak in the line from the well to the house. But in my case, it wasn't. The pressure went up to 60. It stayed around there. And then once this is full, it's about 60, I slowly turn the ball valve back on to allow water to flow through the house. Did it slow because I didn't want a rush of water going into everything. Another thing that I did is I replaced this whole house filter. That should be done like every 3 to 4 or 5 months, how bad ever your water is. And then I have water pressure. So that's really about it. Step 1, turn off the water, turn off your well, empty the water from the tank and the well line. Step 2, replace any fixtures you need. Step 3, replace the tank. Step 4, turn this guy back on. Make sure your valves are closed to the house, the relief valve. Turn it back on. This fills with water, gets up to your desired pressure. Then turn the water on to the rest of the house. It'll flow in through the house. It might even kick in again. And you should have good water pressure.